Hello, hello, beautiful soul. Happy New Year. I pray that you are doing well. Welcome to this new Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube Live. I'm super excited to be with you today as we explore how to overcome fear and anxiety. Thank you for tuning in. I love it when we get to connect live. If you don't know me already, I am Dr. Andrea Pennington, author of The Real Self-Love Handbook, and I am the founder and chief wellness officer for Innate Vitality. I am a bit of a neuroscience nerd, so some of what I'm sharing today will be based in neuroscience as well as positive psychology. So I have been asking these questions on Instagram and through my emails with all the people who are on my distribution list and asking questions about what are you struggling with? You know a little bit by now, hopefully you know a little bit about me and what I'm into. And so I've just asked, based on what you know of me, what do you need help on? And we've answered questions around self-love, which I'll be getting into more. But this one came up as well. So if you happen to have a question, then please feel free to type it into the chat. I am going to be talking first about anxiety and fear, because that's the most recent one that came up. But please feel free to type into the chat. I'm very happy to see you. Hola, Haifa, Happy New Year. Vaughn will be checking in. Oli, Ula, thank you all for being here. Happy New Year. So grateful to see you all here, and I pray that you are ready to shine and thrive this year. And this has definitely been one of those things that you'll see another video from me this week about hope. But first, I want to make sure that we get to this question, and that is, how do you handle anxiety? What is your go-to coping mechanism if you've got anxiety or fear going on? This question got teased up by someone who said, look, 2020 brought up a lot of anxiety, not just fear of whether you'd get the virus or not, but by being forced to stay at home, to work from home, to shelter in place. One of the things that did for people is it brought to the forefront things that they've been hiding or denying or shoving away. So in other words, many of us have coping mechanisms. So when you're stressed or anxious, some people might go for a run, very healthy coping mechanism. Other people might call a friend or go see a friend or go to a bar. And with 2020, a lot of our coping strategies, at least the outward facing ones, were diminished. And so, yes, you could still phone a friend, you could get on Skype or Zoom or whatever, but the outward focused ones were limiting. And add to that, being at home and dealing with work commitments, getting Zoom fatigue after all of these conference calls, and then dealing with family members, it was a lot. And so one of the questions that came up was, how do I deal with this vulnerable feeling where I'm really coming face to face with my stuff? Does anybody else realize that last year revealed some things that you knew you needed to heal or transform? But now it's like, okay, I can't hide this anymore. Well, I can tell you that that was true in my case. I'll just keep it real and honest. I recognize that there are some things that I had to address. Also, last year, I turned 50, and I decided there were some things I did not want to take into the next half a century. But when you recognize that you're coming face to face with aspects of your personality, things that you may have shoved down and kept at bay, either through overworking or taking care of other people or finding some other distraction. If we don't have those distractions, if we stop numbing out, it can bring up a lot. Shame, fear, regret. These are some of the things that came in as people saying, I find these feelings not only uncomfortable, but also unbearable. And so I know what that feels like, especially as if you're coming out, standing up to a family member, leaving a relationship, asking for a job or a raise, or having to go out for a new job, or creating a new company. When you come out of the old version of life for you, coming into the unknown is very scary. The unknown for many of us is what, that kind of fear of the unknown is what keeps us blocked. Even though the old lifestyle was toxic and was not moving us towards some, realization of our soul's dreams and our life purpose, at least it was familiar, even if it was painful. But for many of us, whatever your reasoning, me it was age, and it was just also discomfort. Thank you, Anna. I decided that there were things that I did not want to carry forward into the next decades of my life, nor the new year. So how do we deal with that? Well, there's two things that I want to talk about. One of them is this ability to be honest with ourselves and to take an inventory, like literally, like writing down what are the things that have come up for you repeatedly that you know they're not serving you, and that they keep coming up, that it's not a coincidence that these things keep coming up. Is anybody getting that? Or is it just me? I know it's not just me, but anyway, so first off, we have to recognize what those traits or default modes of operating. Thank you, Shelley. Fear of loss of resilience. Understood. So when you face that, if you look at how has that impacted you, those fears, how does it impact you? Does it mean that you don't go ask for a date or ask for a raise, or you don't charge your clients what you're owed, or you don't write that book? How does it impact you? There are things that you would otherwise positively want to go after that maybe you don't based on that fear. But there's also probably some reactionary coping strategies that you put into action. Some of them are unconscious, whether that's eating, numbing out with social media, Netflixing way too many hours, shopping, who knows? You know the things that you do to try to escape. So once you kind of have that inventory, and I know, and maybe it's gaming, which is, not trying to call you out, but I just saw a comment from Pro Gaming on YouTube. So whatever it is, look at how it's impacted you. Either the things that you've done to cope with it that you know are not good for you, or the things that it's prevented you from doing. And then ask yourself, am I ready to let that go? Am I ready to face it? Am I ready to really see what is underneath those habits or behaviors? And this is a good time. I mean, we have our dear friend Shelley Thomas, who is working on a book about surrender. You don't have to do this alone. So I said there are two things that we want to do here. The first one is like taking an inventory of the stuff that we're finally ready to face. And the second piece of this whole process is got to be about becoming more mindful and looking for a spiritual support. Because sometimes when you're facing your own psychological shortcomings, speaking from experience, you need some help. You need some support. Now, yes, you can get a coach, you can hire a therapist, you can have sessions, but for most of us, we need some support or help from higher power, whatever you call that. But in order to get into that space, we first have to calm down the stress response. So if you're joining from seeing me over on Instagram, thank you for making your way over here. I know this is not always the place for my Insta fam, but I just went live on Instagram asking, how do you cope with these fears, and what do you normally do? And I started to describe the 5-step process known as the attunement meditation process. So we're going to get into that. So if you're willing to process and heal whatever those challenges are, I'm going to lead you through some of this. So Oli, great question. What do you do when the intensity of the emotion in the body is intolerable. That is exactly what today's live is all about. What do you do when the fear or the anxiety of facing your stuff, whether it's inside of you or it's family stuff or world stuff, what do you do when the feeling in your body becomes unbearable or intolerable? Thank you, Willie. Absolutely. Breathing exercises and meditation. So we're going to start off with the 5 steps of the attunement meditation. And this is leaning on neuroscience heavily. So removing any kind of spiritual, religious thing from it, what we need to do is basically hack the brain circuits. Because when you're feeling like you're overwhelmed in that stress response, then your sympathetic nervous system is overactive, right? You're in that fight, flight, you're freaking out, you're anxious. And so the first thing that we do is the breath. And that means if you can, put a hand on your heart or on your belly so that you do belly breathing, diaphragmatic breathing as we call it. You want to take 5 deep, slow breaths. So I mentioned that over on Instagram that if you're in the midst of a heated discussion or you're about to present in front of an audience or you're in front of your loved one, trying to hash something out, you don't always have time to sit in the lotus posture and meditate for 30 minutes. You need something that works right then and there. And so by taking 5 slow, deep breaths, ideally belly breaths, instead of breathing shallowly, where you're not exchanging enough oxygen and CO2, what taking a deep breath does is it starts to turn on what is called the relaxation response. So we know the stress response. What happens to you? Type in the chat. What happens to you? Oli, you said, what do we do when the intensity of the emotion in the body is unbearable or intolerable? What does that feel like for you? So for some people, like for me, I'll get tension in my muscles or in my jaws, or I'll feel my stomach kind of doing flips. What is it for you that you can recognize in your body? Is it that you just start having racing thoughts, or is it that your breathing does get stuck? Whatever that is, identify what that is. And then by taking these 5 deep breaths, you're bringing your awareness. So mindfulness is just about being aware in the present moment. Because a lot of times our fear and anxiety is fear of what's going to happen next, or wishing we could have done something different and how it's going to impact our future. So Oli says it's like a rush of adrenaline and trembling. So as soon as you feel that, the thing to do is just to stop and take 5 deep breaths. And if you can make the exhale longer than the inhale, then our brain, it doesn't do this in words, but the brain will literally get a signal that says, okay, that must not be a tiger about to attack us, so let's lower the cortisol and the adrenaline. Let's lower the heart rate and the blood pressure so that you don't feel the jittery racingness, you don't feel the trembling. So by taking 5 slow, deep breaths, we turn on the relaxation response, and it helps to bring down all of the stressful feelings and help us tune in. So in the attunement meditation process, which I lead for free every month, on the 2nd Tuesday of the month, which is tomorrow, I lead a guided meditation going through the attunement process for reducing fear and anxiety, for helping you tune into the heart, for more self-love, for healing shame, regret, the whole 9. So the first thing we do in the attunement process is allow. We allow ourselves to get tuned in to this moment right here where we are. Now again, a lot of times if you're sitting down with an energy that feels uncomfortable, most of you don't want to allow it to be. You're trying to shove it away or drown it out with some other stimuli. But if we really want to build up a sense of tolerance and resilience, and you can do this, like you are strong enough. Of course, if you're in the midst of trauma or you're reliving a traumatic experience, you may need some other supports. But in this first step of the attunement process, we allow. We take these 5 deep breaths and we allow ourselves to get tuned into the body. What am I feeling? So if it is that you've got this rumbling in your stomach, this trembling, you allow yourself to tune in and just say, okay, I feel you. I acknowledge you. I see you. Allow it to be, rather than judging it, rather than condemning it or condemning yourself for this pain or this anxiety or this feeling. Allow it to have its space. In the world of mindfulness, we always talk about this. Things can come and rise like a wave and they go away. If you're finding that the intensity is too strong, many of us will do something called tapping. So there's TFT and EFT. TFT is thought field therapy. It's the original meridian tapping. If you've ever seen people teaching you how to do this, you know. These tapping things, it originally started off as TFT, and then Gary Craig, an American, kind of adapted it and made it EFT, the emotional freedom technique. But what this meridian tapping can do is it can start to bring calm to the nervous system. So if I were with you, I would probably just give you some acupuncture because I know how to bring that calm instantly. But you can do it for yourself by engaging in this meridian tapping, right? If you go to my website, andreapennington.com, you can find one of the blog posts that I've done and an interview. It may be on YouTube as well, but it's also part of the Real Self-Love movement with Bitte Wiese. So Bitte is another lovely author from Norway who wrote the book called The Book on Quantum Leaps for Leaders. And she is a TFT trainer, and she taught our group how to do all of this meridian tapping. So in step one of the attunement meditation process, we allow ourselves to tune into the body and the mind, no matter what's going on, without judgment, without judging the feeling, without judging ourselves. We tune in. By doing the meridian tapping, that can help to lower the stress response to make it more bearable. The second thing that we do, and you do this with EFT or TFT as well, but the second thing that I specifically invite clients to do is to just bring some awareness, some loving attention, or even if you're visualizing a light, shine a light on that part of your body that is feeling the tension or the anxiety. So as we said, we allow what comes up to be there without judging it. Allow it. And that means focus a light. So for me, if it's my shoulders that are just getting all tense, I'll just take those 5 deep breaths, and then I'll imagine that I'm shining a light, bringing in light through my nose, and it's like, okay, I see you muscles. I feel you. You're getting all tense. Okay, I'm here with you. Doing those 5 deep breaths calms the stress response, gets you out of that fight, flight, reactive mode. Tuning into the body, tapping if you need to. And then we ask questions. So whether that's a physical pain or it's just a nervous sensation, you ask, what's your message for me? What do you want me to know? Because our feelings are messengers. They are just trying to communicate with us. And the easiest way that our subconscious mind can communicate with us when we got to deal with our character defects or defaults is through the body. We don't always think in like words, or maybe you're a visual person, maybe you can get these things in your dreams, but a lot of times the body is the communication mechanism for the subconscious mind. And so you ask the anxious feeling or the trembling, what's your message for me? What do I need to know right now? And this may come later in the 5-step process, like the answer, but the bottom line is by being open and willing to hear, to see, to witness, to allow those feelings to be there and communicate with you, will instantly add a little more calm. If you're working with a therapist, this is a good time for starting EMDR or somatic experiencing. If you know what those modalities are, great. If not, no worries, because we're going to move on to step 2 of the attunement meditation, is to attune. And so if you think of a tuning fork, you hit a tuning fork and everything that's around it they start to balance and come into resonance. So we, human beings, you're like a human antenna. Like, we pick up on vibes and we emit vibes. We are a human antenna. And so just like right now, I'm in France, and all of the radio waves from Radio Monaco and all these other stations, they're all here. I can't see them. But if I dialed in my receiver and had an antenna, I would pick up those sound waves. Well, guess what? It's the same thing with emotions like fear and love. You've had the experience of going into a room and you can just feel the tension or the fear or the irritability. And you've also had the experience of being around someone and you just feel joy and love. Well, those vibes are not just coming from individuals in your presence, they're always around, and we can tune into them. And so this second step of the attunement meditation, after you've taken your deep breaths, you've tuned in, you've allowed your body and mind to speak to you without judging it, without punishing it, or trying to shove it away, we say, all right, I want to tune into the frequency of love and compassion. And so this is where we oftentimes, if we're doing this as a meditation, we can invite in a compassionate being. So whatever your spiritual tradition, it doesn't matter. It could actually be your grandmother. You just bring in or call forth this presence, either visually, again, if you're doing this as a guided meditation. And this is typically when we will practice the compassion meditation. And so the compassion meditation, also known as the metta or loving kindness meditation, is these 4 statements. We can direct this to others, but most of us need to direct it to ourselves just to start the process off. And so we literally say these statements. Or if it's hard to direct loving kindness towards yourself in the beginning, we imagine that there is a beautiful presence, whether that's the Buddha, the Christ, Mother Mary, your grandmother, or your favorite pet. There is a being somewhere on this earth, there's me, beaming you unconditional acceptance and beaming you the wish that you be free from suffering. And as if on cue, usually there's my little dog that comes in to do that as well. So what we do is we imagine then that this compassionate figure is sending us the wish to not suffer. And you can do this for yourself. So if you've just tuned in and you're like, oh, I've got all this anxiety, I'm feeling it in my stomach and my muscles, you take the 5 deep breaths, and once you've gotten present and you're like, what is the message here? What do I need to learn? I'm willing to hear from you. And then you direct yourself compassion. And you can say other words besides these 4 statements. Like you could say, oh my gosh, precious one, I am so sorry that you've been carrying this for so long. I'm so sorry that you're experiencing so much anxiety. And then the 4 statements. The first one is, may you be truly happy. So if you can imagine a compassionate figure or your best self is saying this to you, it is my sincere wish that you be truly happy. Second, may you be free from suffering. So again, you're just imagining that this compassionate figure is saying to you, despite all that's going on with you, it is my sincere wish that you be free from suffering. May you be truly well in body and mind and heart. And the 4th statement is, may you live with ease. And as we tune in, we're literally tuning into the energy and the vibe of love and compassion. That adds to lowering that stress response and allowing us to tap into the heart. If you have difficulty directing that to yourself, again, in the beginning, you can imagine that someone else is directing that to you, but you can also conjure up tune in to love and compassion by sending those wishes to someone else. So you know that if you're feeling anxiety, there's probably millions of other people. And just like you're suffering, you would say, just like me, I know there are other people dealing with this. And it is my sincere wish that they be truly happy. And just imagine sending from your heart that sincere wish that others be happy, other people suffering with the same thing. May they too be free from suffering. May they be truly well in body, mind, and heart. You can direct this to someone you actually know and love, usually. We start off with the people that are easy to send compassion to. And you just wish, oh, may they live with ease. So taking those breaths and doing this process, this is something that in the Tibetan Buddhism tradition, they call this turning poison into medicine. It's working with a challenging emotion and making it the actual cause of your healing. So rather than trying to medicate away or numb out or anything like that, instead we use it to become aware, like, okay, I'm really finally going to be facing this emotion, but I'm bringing in compassion. And ultimately we get to the point of wisdom. Is this making sense? So I see Pro Gaming has said, I have a question. Just type your question into the chat, and when I see it, I will answer it. So thank you for letting me know this makes sense. So tomorrow, for the Real Self-Love live Q&A, I share in a private Zoom session so that I can really tune in to what's going on with you. But I lead people through this 5-step process so that whatever you're working on, whether it's stress and anxiety, recovering from burnout, healing a disease, or healing your wounded inner child, this process is really useful. And the other steps of the attunement process, the third one is to align your mind with a higher state of consciousness. I say align your mind with the divine. You could say, may my mind be guided by peace, or you can make it a prayer. You know, often the serenity prayer is a great one. Like you're already tuned into compassion, and it's like, okay, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And in other words, we're saying it's like, instead of my will, let me open up my mind to a higher state of consciousness, right? Yeah. Thank you, Oli. She says, these calls are so healing, you can't wait for tomorrow. Absolutely. That is part of my service to the world. I want to see less suffering on this planet, so I am bringing what I can to the table. And that's why I do these live broadcasts, and I lead the Real Self-Love live on the second Tuesday of the month. So I do hope that you're able to join us for that. So that third step is about aligning your mind with a higher state of consciousness. If you don't believe in God or a higher power, that's okay. You can just say, look, I know there's a better version of me. Wherever wisdom and intuition comes from, you're just opening yourself to say, I surrender. Instead of being so fixed on my will, I surrender. You know, let a higher mind guide me. And then the fourth is asking for inspiration. So we say that we want you to act on or ask for inspiration, which means, again, it might be coming from somewhere else. And that's okay. And that's actually a good thing. So what you want to be able to do is be willing to ask for inspiration and, in fact, not take any action if it's not inspired action. So this step 4 is act on and ask for inspiration, so that we're never doing just busy work. We're never just doing stuff to fill time. You stabilize whatever situation it is, obviously. But instead of doing those mindless actions that drain our energy, in this step, we're saying, give me some inspiration here, and I'm only going to take action if it's inspired action. And then the fifth and the final step of the attunement meditation is appreciation. And again, it can be really hard when you're all charged up and you're feeling fearful and anxious and all of that. The answer lies in gratitude. By finding something that you can hold on to and be appreciative of or grateful for. And that means to start with you. A lot of us are not real good at appreciating ourselves, and I needed a lot of help with that. I was one of those people that I lived on a 100% or 0 scale. And if I didn't get 100% on something, I was in my head, internal critic, just beating myself up. And so I never even appreciated the good things that I had done, even if it was just a 90% or 80% good. And so I really want you to be able to appreciate yourself for being willing to go through this process, for being willing to admit and face the challenges. Appreciate yourself. Acknowledge yourself. You could even thank yourself, like, thank you. Or you could thank God. Thank you, God, for allowing me, or giving me the courage, or giving me the confidence, for grace. Thank you, Donna. She said, that just set me free. Oh, great. Mission accomplished. So grateful. So I'm glad that hopefully this is making sense, right? So these 5 steps. Now, I was mentioning over on Instagram before I went live that sometimes we have an issue come up where we need to bring that calm right here, right now. And you don't necessarily have time to excuse yourself. So you can do these 5 steps, even if you're sitting in a meeting. I mean, I do it all the time. I could be on Zoom going through the 5 steps. Because if you feel yourself getting riled up, then you know there's going to come a moment where the upper brain centers are just offline. They're not accessible. So we have to get that reptilian part of the brain to calm down. And so if you're in the midst of a heated discussion, you don't want to be in reptilian brain because you might say something that you're going to regret. Or we've all been there. You get out of the conversation and you're like, oh man, I forgot to say that. I should have said that. You know what I said? Like, there's all this wisdom that comes afterward because we're out of the stress response and we finally have access to these higher brain centers. But I don't want you to do that. I want you to just take a few moments to breathe. You take those 5 deep breaths and allow yourself to relax, to be in this present moment, really present and aware of what's going on. Number 2, we invite in compassion for ourselves. Like, oh, this is really a hard moment, and I am so sorry that I'm having to deal with this. It is my sincere wish that I be truly happy. May I be free from suffering. May I be truly well in body, mind, and heart. May I be peaceful and live with ease. Or you could make that a prayer. You know, like, God, please bless me with peace. So that second step about tuning into the energy of love and compassion, it's always there. If you can imagine someone else saying it, or you can say it to yourself, like, ooh, I mean, I had to do this recently, getting all anxious about a trip to the US and like COVID and all the craziness that's going on. It was like, okay, Dre, I see this. That's anxiety right there. All right, I'm here, I'm present with it. Okay, I get it. And I love you still. And you're okay. Right? And then that third step is when we align the mind of the divine. And again, any sort of prayer that you want to insert here, you might just say, may my mind be filled with peace and guided by love, so that you don't flip off and do something that you don't want to do. So again, imagine you're sitting in a meeting and you're just sitting there, someone is yapping on, or literally, I do this before getting on stage. If you've got to get on stage and you're just breathing, coming into the body, allowing whatever's to be there to relax, tuning into love. My intention right now is to bring love and compassion for myself and for others. Step 3, may my mind be guided by love. Thy will, not my will, be done. May my mind be guided by peace. And then step 4, inspired action. And just asking, now that I've opened my mind and it's not all about me, what is the next right step? What is that inspired action? Because I'm willing to wait and act on inspiration. And step 5 is appreciation. If you're in a heated discussion, see if there's something in that other that you can appreciate instead of seeing them as the enemy. What if this is an opportunity to transform this experience? So thank you for letting me share that overview of the 5 steps. If you'd like to join us tomorrow, just go to andreapennington.com and you will see the link to sign up for the Real Self-Love Live, second Tuesday of the month. And I go live, it's private on Zoom, and it allows us to really go deep if there are questions and such. So do check out andreapennington.com and you'll be able to experience it live. All right, so I see another question has come in. Other than creating boundaries, how do I deal with a loved one, a toxic mother who has substance abuse, who takes me away from this healthy existence? Trying to help her also live this way. Well, not always easy to help other people, but the best thing we can do is live it for ourselves and, send that same compassionate wish to her. But first you've got to stabilize this for yourself. So wonderful that you're already creating boundaries, however that looks in your life. But if you recognize that someone in your life who's using substances, we want to invoke that understanding that they are ill. Like that person, none of us would use substances continually and abuse people if we weren't sick. And so create those boundaries to protect yourself, because you are just as valuable on this planet as anyone else. And practice the compassion meditation. So if you could beam that love and compassion to her and surrender it, recognize that you're not going to be able to change anyone. The only person you can partially change, somewhat reliably, is ourselves. But we can live that example. And then we pray. We pray and we invoke all of the spiritual force in the universe to support us in that. But often we find that the people in our lives, they're our greatest teachers. They're revealing to us the things that we need to surrender to and heal in ourselves. And that's not excusing any toxic behavior, absolutely not. But it might underline what part of your life mission is, to never be in that state where you're abusing someone else because you're awake. So all of these mindfulness and meditation processes are designed to help us clear out our own blocks to healing and clear away our own karma that obscures the light of our true nature. So we do that for ourselves, and the rest of the world can benefit as well. So I hope that was helpful. Batanai, I'm glad that this was helpful for you, and Tanya as well. Thank you. Very glad to know. So Charisma, you're asking, where are these 5 steps? You can find the 5 steps on andreapennington.com. It's called the attunement process. And I'm moving platforms. I have like the first segment of an entire course that teaches this meditation practice. So if you sign up on my website, andreapennington.com, you'll have access to it. In fact, one of the other free programs that I have out there is this 3 keys to becoming the hero of your life. It doesn't yet include the attunement meditation. It includes the inner child healing meditation, the safe space relaxation meditation, which also might be helpful for anyone who's dealing with that stress. Oli, as you were talking about that turbulence in the body, in the 3 keys to becoming a hero of your life, and it's also on andreapennington.com. If you click on the meditations tab, there is the safe space relaxation space meditation. And I have a version of these 5 steps recorded as an audio. So if you just email me, I'll send it to you, because the old course is being moved to a new platform. So voila. The 3 keys to becoming the hero of your life also includes the life writing process that helps you become the hero, like to unburden yourself from the subconscious stuff that you want to shift, but also to take up that pen or pencil or tablet and become the hero of your life. So feel free to check that out as well on the website. And some of you will know that we're meeting this Saturday for the Best You Yet live workshop. It's a 2-day workshop where I cover how to create goals with soul. It's not your typical goal setting workshop. We actually do an inventory of the things that went well for you last year and the things that not so much, so that we can get at the underlying beliefs and mental structures, or paradigms as we call them, like what led to your success and what led to the things that you're disappointed with. We face them peacefully together, but then we help to create an underlying structure, a paradigm of possibility. So that's starting this Saturday. And then on the 23rd, we have the second part of the workshop. After we've figured out what are the goals, what are the things you want to manifest this year, what is the vision you have for your life based on your strengths, your talents, your values, then we go into productivity mode, because of course you want to get stuff done. So on the second day of this workshop, I am sharing my favorite productivity process for getting stuff done, whether that's writing a book, starting a company, or just managing your household and your health. This will be useful for you. So we start that this Saturday. If you're interested, there are still spots available for the Best You Yet. So, are there any other questions? Thank you all for being here. Thank you for allowing me to share some of my neuroscience nerdiness to support you. If there are other questions, I'll hang around for just a little bit longer, but I really do thank you for being here. Just remember that tomorrow is Real Self-Love Tuesday, so I will be going live on Zoom. It's private, so you do have to sign up to get the Zoom link. So be sure to check me out online to get that. Okay? And what else do I have to say? Batanai, I hope I'm saying your name right, says, I find this teaching very inspiring in the business realm as well, especially in the service delivery industry, in which customer experience is paramount to the success of the business. Awesome. Absolutely. So glad that that was helpful. Thank you, Anna, as well. Thank you, Donna. Looking forward to seeing you in Best You Yet. Yeah, this is the way that we all want to be. It's important in business. It's important in relationships. Like, this is how we all want to show up in the world. We want to be our best self, our most conscious, peaceful, still setting clear boundaries, but being able to speak up for yourself, your authentic self, with authentic self-expression. And so all of the work that I do is exactly how I do my business. So I'm glad that you picked up on that. Dr. Janet Anthony, thank you so much for being here. I've missed you. Best You Yet, just go to andreapennington.com or anywhere on Facebook. You'll see all over my Facebook page, as well as LinkedIn and on YouTube and on Instagram. Best You Yet. You can join us, and we start on Saturday. And Janet, if you're talking about the Zoom link for tomorrow, the Tuesday, the free Real Self-Love Day, You'll also see that on andreapennington.com. All right. So Mad Queendom says, thank you so much. Trying to get started, but you feel so tired. When I get off of work, I just want to rest. All right, well, I've got something for you. If you go to andreapennington.com, there is, under the meditations tab, I pray that it's actually there, there's some guided meditations. If you're finding that when you get off of work, you're just completely drained, I have something called a transition ritual. It's only 8 minutes. If it's not actually there, I will go and post it after this live is finished. I have a transition ritual that helps you transfer your energy so that you release the fatigue and the drama of the day from the work day and get renewed so that you do have a little more productivity if that's what you need it for, or maybe you just need to be fully present for kids or whatever, or writing that book. It's called the transition meditation ritual. I will make sure that it's on andreapennington.com. If you click on, there's a tab that says guided meditations. I will make sure that it's there. Right. All right. Well, thank you all for being here. Thank you for tuning in. Willie, thank you for the compliment. I'm glad that this resonates with you. And over on LinkedIn, yes, you're welcome as well. I don't see your name, but it's all good. And Ali, when you're at work, you get anxious, and you're a respiratory therapist, so I know you know all about the breath, and it gets stressful. So go through these 5 steps, this 5 steps of the attunement meditation. You know, as you're working with a patient, you can get into that, and just as you're giving all this kindness and love and compassion to a patient, you can direct it toward yourself as well. Yeah. So, all right. Very good to see you all here. Thank you for LinkedIn, for you tuning in. I know that this is a new experience for my LinkedIn family. Great to see you here. For all of you on Facebook, I know I was silent over the last couple months, but very grateful to have you. And as always, the growing YouTube family, really happy that you are tuned in. And if you're watching this on the replay, thank you. You are valuable just as well. So now, my friends, we have come to that moment where it is time to say goodbye and farewell. I thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to get access to these resources that are fully and freely available on andreapennington.com. And until we meet again, which is tomorrow or Wednesday or Saturday of this week, it's a full week, just know this: you truly are a gift to the world. So share your presence with passion. Much love, everyone. Much love. Very good to have you here, and take good care.